All right, good morning, everybody. I'm actually recording this at almost 9 o'clock at night on Tuesday night, last night for you guys. And I wanted to go over the data with you for how you did on at least the multiple choice portion of the test, okay? What we're looking for here is that green is good, yellow is okay, but orange and red definitely are not what we're looking for on these tests. And so there were a couple of problems with the answer key. And so some of you did get one of the questions correct. And Miss Barron will be able to go over with you if you're one of those people. The answer key didn't recognize the answer F on your answer document. So we'll get that fixed. So some of you have 1 point coming to you, one more point coming to you. And then there's another question which I feel that a couple of the answers are actually correct. And so I will be giving Miss Barron information on how to adjust that as well. So the average here of the average correct is actually going to go up. It's going to be a higher percentage when it's adjusted, but I can't adjust it here. What I'm really worried about is this huge percentage of students, these students right here, that did not understand the material. And that this is just on the 15 multiple choice. You may have done really well in the other parts of the test. So the next thing that I look at is when I look at the most commonly missed questions. And right away, something caught my eye. That question number 5 here, 0% of my students got it correct. And so I realized, there's something wrong. And I figured out that you guys had a letter F option on your test. But when they made the key, there was no letter F option. So that's the question that's going to be adjusted for everybody else. This is the other question here that only 6.3% of you got correct, because I believe that one of the other answer choices is also correct. So again, Miss Barron is going to look at those. These other questions here, 15, 9, 10, and 14, are ones that will be things that I'm going to address right now with all of you. Okay? So I'm not going to show you the test specifically. I'm going to talk about topics that I think we need to revisit. Okay, so we're going to just talk about some topics in general. And so I'm just going to go to a blank white screen so that I can do some writing with you guys. All right. First of all, experimental groups versus versus the control group. Okay, so the experimental group versus the control group. Okay, the experimental group is going to have the variables in it that you're going to be changing. I'm having a hard time here. Sorry, you guys. Trying to erase. I'm using a new Apple Pen, and so I'm just getting used to it. So your experimental group is going to have the variables that are changed. These are going to be your test subjects. Okay. In the control group, no variables are going to be changed. Oops, changed. I can write changed. Okay, conditions kept the same. And it's used for comparisons. So an example of an experimental group versus a control group. The experimental group would be the group that exercised versus your control group would be your group with no exercise. So if you were doing an experiment to try to figure out if what the impact of exercise was on weight loss, for example, your experimental group would be the group that you would have exercising. And you would have to have a control group that didn't exercise at all so that you would be able to connect any changes in weight loss with the group that had actually done the exercising. Now, do they all have to exercise the same amount? No. You could have one group that exercises 30 minutes a day, and a group that exercises 1 hour per day. Okay. And you could have a group that's exercised for 2 hours per day. But you have to remember, you always have to have a group for control that you have to compare it to. So that's your group with no exercise every day. All right. So let's go from this and use data. So let's say that the group that exercised 30 minutes a day, over a month's time, they had 10 pounds weight loss. Okay. And the group that exercised an hour a day, 15 pounds of weight loss. And I am just making up these numbers. And the group that exercised 2 hours per day, well, they bulked up and got a lot of muscle. So they actually only lost 7 pounds because they actually converted more muscle, more fat to muscle. And then the group that didn't exercise at all, they had 0 weight loss. Okay. So what kind of graph would you make for this? That's my next question for you. We're comparing the amount of exercise done and your degree of weight loss. So you're trying to see a trend in your data. So what kind of graph? Well, first of all, can you identify the dependent and independent variables? What is the variable that I, as the experimenter, am changing, that I'm manipulating? It's this one here. So this becomes my independent variable. And this variable here is what is being measured. So that's my dependent variable. It is going to depend upon, so the amount of weight you lose depends upon how much you exercise. So this would down here would be exercise, and this would be weight lost over here on this axis. And what kind of graph would I make? Well, I'm trying to see a trend. So I would be making a line graph. So I would have 0, 0 is one of my points. No exercise, not going to lose any weight. Okay. 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and then 120 minutes, right? 2 hours per day. And let's say we go 5, 10, 15. And so this is about 7, right? In between the 5 right there. So at 30 minutes, I lost 10 pounds. Try to make a dot here. Doesn't want to let me make a dot. Oh no, everything's messed up. Okay, so, doesn't want to let me make a dot. That's so weird. Okay, sorry you guys. There. At 60 minutes, I lost 15. And 2 hours per day. Look how weird it wasn't the same. So you could see that at a certain point you would increase the amount of weight loss, and then maybe didn't stay the same, right? So that's why you would make a line graph. So how do you know when to make a bar graph? You make a bar graph when your independent variable, it doesn't really matter what order you put it in. You're just using your dependent variable, comparing your dependent variable to your independent variable. And you don't care what order these things are in. So let's say you have cars sold versus year. Okay, so the model of the cars sold versus the year. And on our data, we have Fords and GMC and BMW. Oh my gosh. And I'm drawing a blank here. Mercedes and Audi. Okay, so those are our types of cars. And then our year would be, oh my gosh, I don't like this graph. This is what happens when I just talk and I'm not thinking. Plus it's 9 o'clock at night and I don't do my best thinking at 9 o'clock at night. Do you? Let's say instead of cars and models, let's do this. Let's do kind of sticking with cars. This will be a little bit easier. How about this? Let's do the color of the car, the color and the number sold. Okay, so in 1 year. So we have black, blue, white, red. Okay, and so we have, 100. We're just going to look at one dealership, right? 95, 250, 250, and red is 165. Okay, so which is the dependent variable, which is the independent variable? Okay, what am I going to manipulate and what am I going to measure? Okay, I'm going to manipulate what color of car I'm looking at, and the number sold is going to be the number that I'm going to measure. So hopefully you've already guessed that this is going to be a bar graph. Why? Because it doesn't matter what color we put in which order. Black. It doesn't matter what order we'd use it. Blue, white, or red. It doesn't matter what color we do. And then we just say, okay, 195, a little bit shorter, 250. And of course, this is so not to scale, but you guys get the idea, I hope. What else is this graph missing? Well, of course, it's going to have a title here, right? And we always want to make sure we have units. Okay, so that's another topic that you guys, many of you struggled with on the test. Just a word about reading graphs. Be very careful. Go back and look at your hypothesis and look at the data that's actually given to you on a graph. Just because one bar is the tallest, does that necessarily mean that your hypothesis is supported? So be very, very careful. Look at the graph and see what it is actually showing you. And I'm referring to the question, the very first question on the test. A lot of people took the bait and just go, oh, it was this one because it's the tallest line, but that's not what the graph is actually showing you. Let's see. Another topic on the test was writing out your hypotheses. Make sure you use the if something happens, then format. Please use the if then format for your hypothesis. And, don't, and I'm going to write this out for emphasis, don't leave answers blank. Ever. If you don't even try to answer a question, of course you're going to get it wrong. You have to guess, at least try. Don't leave answers blank. If you run out of time on a test, let us know. We'll see how we can get you some more time. Okay? So Miss Barron can give you some information on how you scored on the test. And gosh, I'm racking my brain to think of if there's anything else that I saw. If you want to do the retest for corrections, you need to make sure that you did your study guide. Because whether you did your study guide or not is going to determine if you're going to be able to do corrections and how many points you can make back. So you're going to have to, you can earn back a half a point if you did your study guide on time. Okay? And you need to show the retake form. Complete the retake form and show that you had your study guide stamped so that you can get a retake. Okay? So I know this is kind of scattered here, but I just wanted to go over some things with you guys, and I'm hoping that I'll be back in about a week. Okay? See ya. Bye.